Chapter 1, Preliminaries. Let it be said from the beginning, a strict moral discipline must be kept to make progress in meditation. And the additional minor rules. 2. Restraint of the senses, that is, not reacting, neither liking nor disliking. When there is contact between any of the 6 sense organs, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind, and its object, form, sound, and so on. 3. Purity of livelihood, which means earning one's living in a way beyond reproach. 4. Morality with regard to the 4 requisites, which means making use of the 4 requisites: clothing, food, dwelling, and medicine, with mindfulness and wise discrimination, although this account of morality under 4 headings is not found until well after the Buddha's time. It is not out of keeping with the spirit of his teaching and can well be made use of as a guide to practice. The meditator should grasp the spirit of moral discipline, though the monk cannot memorize all the major rules of the Patimokkha, let alone the details of the various minor rules. If he grasps the spirit of the moral practice and keeps to it, he is very well established in morality. Herein lies the significance of the moral practice. The essence of the ascetic discipline consists in contentment with the means of supporting life, that is, the 4 requisites, and unlimited endurance in practicing. Here is an illustration of contentment with respect to food. Food is to be got in simple way, which for a bhikkhu means going out to receive alms. On his alms round, the bhikkhu must not select houses where he expects to get better food, but must go from house to house without missing any. He should eat from 1 vessel only, take food only once a day, not eat food received after he has begun eating, and so on. But he should not take into account only the rules of conduct actually prescribed.
Any mode of conduct that results in less trouble and involvement and conduces to progress in the practice ought to be adopted. As to clothing, the bhikkhu is advised to make his robes out of cloth that is of no use to others, which means collecting discarded cloth and making what are called ragrobes. In addition to his usual 3 robes, a bhikkhu is allowed 1 other piece of cloth for bathing during the rainy season. If he lacks this bathing cloth, he may bathe without it, an example of contentment with regard to clothing. As to dwelling, a bhikkhu is supposed to live in a forest, in the open air, at the foot of a tree, in a graveyard, or if need be, as, for instance, during the rainy season, in any other place offered. Here the ascetic discipline consists in not owning any dwelling whatsoever, in being content with whatever is available, and in enduring all kinds of weather. As in the matter of food and clothing, the essential point is this: the meditator should adopt any mode of conduct, prescribed or not, that is conducive to success in the practice. With regard to medicine, no specific mode of conduct is laid down, for the simple reason that medicine does not arouse covetousness or greed. After all, no one normally takes medicine unnecessarily, though in this modern age, this is no longer so true. There are now available medicines, such as cosmetics, which are consumed quite unnecessarily, just for the sake of fashion. Others, which are genuinely for curing ailments, are on sale in great variety to suit individual taste. The meditator should use only the type of medicine genuinely needed. He must be circumspect and contented as regards the use of medicinae, as befits a person practicing Dhamma. There is another special kind of ascetic discipline, the last of the traditional 13, which is especially designed to render the meditator adamantine, to strengthen his endurance. Its immediate object is avoidance of the pleasure of sleep. The meditator is advised, at times, not to lie down to sleep at all. Here moderation must most definitely be observed. From this outline, it is clear that the ascetic discipline has been added to that of morality in order to strengthen both mind and body, a function which is, of course, beyond the range of morality alone. Nevertheless, ascetic discipline and morality must go hand in hand as the foundation for meditation. Meditation, morality, and ascetic discipline are in fact inseparable. The moral and ascetic disciplines are to be regarded as a practice of the most general kind, to be applied at all times as the essence of right living. Having summed them up briefly, we shall now deal with the practices specifically related to the development of concentration, samadhi, dhyan. We discuss first of all the so-called preliminaries, pababhagaga. These preliminaries are things to be done before actually beginning the meditation practice. Though a later addition, quite unknown in the days of the Buddha, the preliminaries represent a widely and faithfully practiced tradition, and are considered of some importance. The fact that they are a later addition does not mean that they are of no use. The meditator must recognize the preliminaries as a part of the practice, though he must take care not to become blindly attached to them. As so many people do these days, certain of the practices contained in the preliminaries are so strictly followed nowadays in some centers that to dispense with them would be unthinkable. We shall now discuss the preliminaries one by one. 1. Paying respects to the bhikkhu in charge of the training center. In the days of the Buddha, bhikkhu in charge of training centers did not exist. And training centers in the modern sense did not exist either, since the would-be meditator used to go and take up residence near his own preceptor and teacher.
The main purpose of this ritual as now practiced is to create mutual understanding between the meditator and the bhikkhu in charge. It gives the bhikkhu in charge a chance to learn what kind of person the meditator is, what particular imperfections he has, what sort of character he has, what facilities he will need for his practice, and so on. Having convinced himself of the genuineness of the meditator's motives, the bhikkhu in charge will be quite willing to help him in every way possible. Here the main thing is the practice of Dhamma and not mere externals, not the observance of the custom as such. If there is some point on which the two just cannot come to an understanding, the meditator had better find some other training center. Pay respects is the first thing to be done on arriving at a new center, and it need be done only the once. Thereafter bhikkhu in charge and meditator have to live together, agreeing to help each other out of mutual goodwill. 2. Paying respects to the meditation teacher. The meditator should pay his respects to his instructor regularly throughout the whole period of training. In the days of the Buddha this was not regarded as a mere ritual but as something conducive to genuine respect for and reliance on the teacher. If the meditator considers that this ritual bowing down to the instructor and paying of respects is of no value, he should not perform it. To do so would be a waste of time. Different individuals have different mental characteristics. A person practicing mental development must have a mental level well above that of ritualism. Otherwise he is not mature enough to practice for the realization of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-selfhood, which are most subtle things to penetrate, but the accepted procedures relating to mental training have been modified in the course of time, owing to various kinds of worldly attachment, and nowadays affect everyone.
The result is that such formalities as the ritual paying of respects to the teacher and the making of devotional offerings to him have come to be regarded as essential. An earnest meditator must realize all this and act in the way most conducive to his own mental well-being. At the same time, he must not look down on others who have not as yet transcended ritualism. Nowadays such preliminary formalities are increasing in popularity, but only among people who have nothing more than faith. They are no longer practiced by discerning people. Training centers are established to meet the specific needs of certain types of people. And some centers have degenerated, to the extent that they are making a business out of providing people with the ritualism they crave for. The meditator must respect and trust his teacher so that he can give full attention while being instructed. If he has not enough respect for and confidence in the teacher, he will listen only half-heartedly, not giving much thought to the teacher's words. Here at the very beginning lies a root cause of failure. So mutual understanding is of the utmost importance. Just to pay one's respects by prostrating 3 times is not enough. The meditative teacher, for his part, should examine the trainee as thoroughly as a doctor would his patient. In an atmosphere of sincerity, respect, and confidence, the disciple will not be reluctant to talk frankly about his particular disease, mental imperfections, so that the teacher can administer his remedy. If there is a relationship full of father and son affection, everything will go smoothly. So the thing to be offered to the teacher as a token of respect is not something external, not just candles and incense, but rather an open heart full of confidence and sincerity. Something from within is to be offered. With such an offering there will be a close relationship between master and disciple, which will be conducive to success in the meditation practice.